And then let's go to the project panel in the main composition, and of course we're going to bring our sun number 3, and of course put it into the composition as you can see. And press S for the scaling and simply scale it down for now. Now we're going to play around with this timing. Of course it will appear around this timing here. Okay, and put it of course where it's going to belong, somewhere of course in the middle there. And also to make it more appealing, let's go to Effect, Perspective, Drop Shadow. Okay, and just increase the shadow's opacity like that. And we're going to keyframe its properties. Let's say from here, let's just move it. We're going to press S for the scale, and then press Shift T to also bring up the opacity. And of course we're going to create both keyframes for them. We want it to start as quite a small layer, which means a scaling of course of 0, and of course an opacity of also 0, like that. And then we're going to move on. At this point of course it must have ballooned out, to change the opacity to 100, and of course bring it out as you can see. And of course select those two keyframes and then press F9 to make it a smooth animation. And then around here it's going to scale up, but just a bit slowly, as it of course we are going to change the opacity to 0, like that, so that as it's scaling up, as the lines meet, it's going to spread out like that. Okay, and then we're going to add a lens effect to it by creating a new solid layer, new solid, call it lens. Make sure the color is black, please, because we need to composite it. Okay, of course we go to Effect, Generate, Lens Flare. As you can see right now, we are just adding little additional elements just to make our scene look pretty. Now of course we need to composite it, so we're going to change the lens flare's transfer mode to Add, like that. Okay, so that now it's part of the scene. By the way, if you can't see the transfer mode, you can always click on that button there. You can see where I'm clicking at the bottom of the screen there on the left hand side. That's where After Effects keeps this option here, so that we can expand the views of course. And just try and position the lens flare at this point already where it's supposed to be, which is somewhere there of course. Now again, a lens flare also, we just need to work around its timing, because at this frame in the middle, it needs to be of course positioned of course in the middle of the scene. As you can see, we are simply adjusting the parameters. So we're going to create keyframes on the flare's brightness and the flare's center, and then press U on the keyboard to manipulate the positions. Let's go to the beginning. Now in the beginning of the composition, we want the flare to be a bit out of the way, so we're going to move the flare center on the x-axis towards this side here of course. That's how we're dragging it of course. And of course at that point the flare's brightness must be 0, as you can see. So that it's going to build up, as you can see. And even as it gets here, it shouldn't be too bright still. So we're going to reduce the flare's brightness, as you can see, to 30 maybe. And then once it gets through the middle there, that's when it actually gets to shine. Perhaps even up to 130% to really brighten up the scene. Okay. And then of course it's going to move again out of the way by simply moving it of course on the x-axis like that, and of course reducing the flare's brightness to 0. Now remember again, select the keyframes and smoothen them out by pressing F9. When we play back the scene, of course you can see what we have. This is what happens. I think the flare is a bit too late, so we need to move the position around a bit. In other words, by moving the keyframes a bit more forward. Let's say it's going to start like that. Oh yeah, so that it can shine, of course, nicely at that point. And I think at this point, when it gets here, it needs to be staying a bit there for like a fraction of a second. So we're going to select those two keyframes and then go to Edit, Copy, and then we move to the timeline there, a few frames ahead, and then we go to Edit, Paste, so that it can keep that position just for a few fractions of a second, like that. Okay, before it moves, of course, out of the way again. Beautiful. Okay, and also, I think the color correction needs to be done for it also. Effects, color correction, CC toner. Just give it a nice light blue color. You can see now. Oh yeah, this is going to look, of course, much better. Okay. Can you imagine there's one layer unattended for, and that's a stroke line texture or composition. Let's turn it back on. Go to let's add back the CC toner also to it. Let's give it a red texture. I'm saying texture because I'm so used to 3D Max. Yeah, and then select the scaling and check the lock. Sorry, we just want to crush it down a bit along the y-axis, and then it's going to sit where our text will need to appear. Let's just simply shift and drag it down for now. Okay, and I'm going to hide it again for now. Okay, until we have our text layer. And then the background also needs to be animated, and of course it will be animated around where the scene lightens up. In other words, here's what we're going to do. Select the background layer, and then we're going to click on the stopwatch for the contrast and the brightness, and let's see, perhaps also the evolution. And also we're going to select it and then press Shift T for the opacity. Also create a stopwatch for it, and then we're going to press U on the keyboard. You can see, of course, exactly which parameters are we going to manipulate. Okay, and this is what you're going to do. In the beginning, the opacity of this layer will be set to 0, as you can see. And then only when the scene lightens up like that, that's when we're going to change the opacity to 100. And also, let's see, the contrast will be increased like that, as you can see, to brighten up the scene. Okay, so that this is what will happen. Okay, and of course the layer is going to go softer again, so we're going to reduce the contrast to something darker, as you can see. Okay, and then as the scene plays through, we are then going to, of course, first create a stopwatch for the opacity again. Press F9 to make it smooth, and then of course it's going to disappear. And of course it's static, so we need to give it some movement. So in the beginning here, we are going to create a keyframe for the offset turbulence, so that we can move the turbulence around. Of course, press U to reveal the keyframes. Let's move on forward, and of course we are going to move. As you can see, we are moving the offset turbulence so that it appears as if it's, of course, moving with the scene. You'll notice when the text comes together. There we go. You see that? Beautiful animation indeed. Okay. Nice. And now we're going to add a particle system, of course. So we're going to layer, new solid, call it particles. You gotta love particles, you know. Yeah, and then we're going to go to effect. Let's see, simulation, CC particle world. Okay. First things first, of course, you don't want to see the flow, so change the flow to off, and then let's reveal the camera and the particle and the physics properties. We want the particles to be let's see, faded sphere. Yeah, they should be faded spheres, of course. Now at this point, if we were to play this back, They seem to be flowing down, of course. We don't want that, so we're going to reduce the gravity so that they flow a bit more upwards like that. Okay. Yeah, so that the particles don't flow. They appear as if they're coming to us, towards us like that. Okay. Now it's a bit sort of boring if they just all they do is just come towards the screen. So we're going to manipulate the situation by going to the camera settings of the particle flow or the particle system, and then we're going to increase the field of view and check what it does. By increasing it, you can see how it gives us the perception that we are piercing, or we are entering through the particles as they are being animated. Now you'll notice, of course, they really appear nicely as if they're coming right to our faces. You see that? How beautiful is that, eh? See that it's coming, it's as if it's coming towards your face. And also, I think a bit of color correction needs to be done to it. And so, birth color, change it to a light blue. And then death color, of course, make it maybe a purple color. Like that. Yeah, that's, I think, really cool. Yeah. And then, remember, all this is driven by the sun rays that are going to emanate through the scene. In other words, the particles should only come from now, okay? Around this section here where our sun ray pops up. So around this section here. So we're going to click on the stopwatch there for the birth rate of the particle, and then press U. Now the birth rate in the beginning will be 0, so that in the beginning, of course, it's nothing, as you can see. And then when the sun ray flashes like that, this is when we have our particle of 2 or so. Let's see, I think we just need to move these keyframes a bit more forward. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. And of course they need to disappear. So first we want to keep them in the scene. By increasing the number of the birth rate, and then of course reducing the birth rate to 0, as you can see. In fact, we can actually delete this keyframe here. Then move this one a bit closer to the beginning there. It's going to strike and then of course disappear like that. When we preview our scene, can you see the beautiful scene that we're ending up with? Oh yeah, but I think our flare is disappearing a bit too quickly, and the sun itself. So here's how we fix that. The sun, where is it? Yeah, the sun and the lens flare, we're going to select both the ending keyframes and move them, of course, outwards like that, so that of course we have much more time to admire the scene. So it's going to shine and then of course move out of the scene slowly. In fact, I think we need to select these keyframes of theirs, edit, copy, move forward a bit, and then edit, of course, paste. Undo that. Okay, one at a time. Select those keyframes, edit, copy, and then Control V to paste them there. Select those keyframes, Control C, and then Control V, of course. Yeah, that way hopefully we are going to hold it into position. This is what we're having right now. But I think also that as it's locked up at this point, the sun, we just want to increase the scale up a bit more. A subtle one, so that's 68%, which means of course towards the end, yeah, okay, it increases to 74. Let me preview this again. So at this point, you can see what a better scene indeed that we're having. Oh yeah. Depends on you really. As you can see, I'm just adjusting my settings just to get a better look really. to give the sun more time to shine. Yeah, indeed, this is definitely stunning. Okay. And you know what? With the aim of creating a smooth animation, I think we can actually delete some of these repetitive keyframes, such as this one, for the lens flare layer, that is. So you can see I'm simply deleting some of them that are kind of unnecessary. So that at this point, simply going to come like that. When I play this back, you see now it's much more subtle, of course. And then at this point, this is now when you might want to put in your text. So let's create our text layers there. I'm going to start with amazing. Yeah, we offer amazing training for 3D Max and After Effects here at Henrythejedi.com. Let's see, window character, so that we can adjust the object, of course. Oh, sorry. I think we just want our text to be white in color. Okay. Give it some shadow, so effect, perspective, drop shadow. Direction can be, let's see, that side. Needs to be a bit softer. Okay. Now the most important thing at this point is that we need to move the pivot point of the text to the middle of the text. In other words, select that option there, the anchor tool, and then of course we're going to anchor it. We're going to anchor it all the way into the middle of the text, as you can see. Okay. That way we can of course animate the text from the center. First things first, of course, we need to position the text in the middle where it's supposed to be. In fact, I'm going to rename this to Henrythejedi.com. Increase the scaling. You notice now we need to again to go back to anchor point, of course, move the anchor again into the middle, as you can see there. Okay. And again, of course, put it in the middle. Let's go to window character. I think we just need to make the edge dark like that, or else of course nobody will be able to read our text. Oh yeah, okay. Now if we select the object, the text that is, unlock the scaling tool, and then you'll notice now of course, as you can see, we are capable now of scaling things just from the middle, as you can see. Okay. And of course we want the text to appear somewhere here, so we're going to press Shift C as long as with the scale, as you can see, create the keyframes, of course, and then we want the opacity, of course, to start from 0. And of course the text itself, the scale to be 0. And then just move a few frames ahead, and now of course bring the opacity to 100. And of course let's actually do the following with the scale. I'm going to uncheck the scaling button. You can see what we're doing at this point. Again, create keyframes for them. In the beginning, lock the scale in the beginning so that it can be closed off like that at 0. Of course, so that when it increases, you can see of course what it does with the text. And then of course keep it increasing, but now we're going to unlock the scale again and then simply scale it on the x-axis like that, so that it simply spreads outwards. And then press F9, then move on forward. Actually move this keyframe here forward. Okay. Press Shift P to bring up also the position. Click on the stopwatch there for the position so that it starts there. and then of course as the text is animating, it's going to move like that to this side. Press F9 of course, and of course at this point its opacity is going to reduce to 0 so that it disappears from the scene. But before it does, of course it needs to be a bit higher, maybe 75% or so. Okay, so if we were to review this is how it happens. Oh, okay, but I think the scaling, I don't really like it. Let's change the first, let's delete the first scaling keyframe there, so that it's actually going to start out big. Or let's see, move this a bit forward, press F9, scale it like that. Yeah, that way it's much better. When we preview this, you can see what is going on, of course. But let's see, some adjustments need to be made clearly, and that can be done with a motion blur. So select the text and then we go to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian Blur. Then we're going to increase the blur quite a lot, and we only want it to be blurred on the horizontal axis like that. Quite a lot indeed, like that. As you can see, we are increasing. Okay. And then let's come here towards the beginning. Click on the stopwatch for the blurriness. Press U to reveal the keyframes, of course. And of course, in the beginning here, it's going to be blurred like that until, of course, we reduce the blurriness to 0. Press F9 again, so that, of course, the text becomes readable. Okay. Alright. And let's just give it a glow. So we go to Effects, Stylize, Glow. Click on the stopwatches for the glow's intensity and radius, and press U. And of course, it's going to start glowing like that. And then, of course, when it gets somewhere here, just increase the glow's intensity and the radius. And we need to change it from original colors to, let's see, A and B colors. The B color should be white. Let's see, the glow threshold should be also higher, as you can see. Before, of course, they come to settle down by reducing the glow intensity, of course, to 0. Or no, yeah, just something subtle like 0.8. Press F9, of course, to make the keyframe smooth. And I think it will really be good if we move it below certain layers. In other words, we're going to move the glow, the text that is below the Sun 3 coordinates layer, so that, of course, as you can see now, it's a much better feel to it because it's appearing below what is more glowing above it. Select the text and then we're going to Edit, Duplicate, and let's see, press U to reveal the keyframes. I think I just want to change the text here to amazing. We're going to press P to reveal the positions, and then we don't want any of these keyframes here because this guy is coming up. Okay, because it needs to go the other way. So just double click it, Window, Character, adding diversity to our text, of course. This one can be a regular text, or let's see, oblique, or in fact even Arial. And with the reduced height. Okay, and no material on the outside, as you can see. Okay, press Shift U to bring up its keyframes, of course. And yeah, you can see, of course, from where it's going to be animated. Ah, no, something went wrong. I'm going to undo. Okay, it's fine like that. At this point here, let's just reduce the opacity maybe to 50. Should be a bit sort of see-through. Even that one also 50. Okay. Of course, you can see what is going on. And yeah, just positioning. You can start there, or perhaps on that side. And then as it moves on, it can move, of course, to its own side. And yeah, just playing around with the timings. I think he can come in a bit earlier, so we're moving it, the layer a bit more ahead in the timeline. Yeah, like that. Okay. Moving on, you can see, of course, what a beautiful animation that we have. And at this point, just before the layers disappear again, now this is when we can work on the stroke line. Yeah, that one there. We're going to shift and move it somewhere around there where our main text appears, of course. I think select the scaling tool, and we're going to crush down the scaling even more. Okay. Does it have a mask? Not yet. So double click to create an elliptical mask tool for it, like that. And of course, click on the stopwatch for the mask's shape. I think starting from there. Okay. We want the mask to start from there. Click on the stopwatch. And then it's going to move, of course. Yeah, now this guy can come in the way there. And then move forward a bit. And of course, he too will disappear by dragging its back end, of course, out of the scene. I think I just want to move this keyframe here a bit more like that, so that it doesn't appear so soon. By the way, the mask needs feathering, as you can see. And if you want to, also, you can select this layer of the text and of course color correct it as well. Effects, color correction, CC toner, you know. And yeah, make it also have a blue texture, as you can see, depending on you really. Or even a silver texture by changing the mid-tones color. You see that? Now that will give you, of course, a silver texture. And I think in fact the silver texture is better looking, and it looks like it makes, of course, a bolder statement, of course. And then once we are done with that, select the main comp, and then of course we're going to drag it to a new composition again. When I played my animation, I think it goes a bit too quick, so I'm going to slow down mine. To do that, we go to composition settings. I think instead of it being 4 seconds, I'm going to change mine to, let's see, 6 seconds. Okay? Because you can see it has been chopped. Right click on the main comp layer and then go to time stretch. And change the duration, of course, the new duration. Enter the 600, so that it gives us, of course, now exactly 6 seconds. You can see for yourselves, of course, now by simply adjusting the timing, you can see, of course, the animation now is much more slower and more beautiful to admire, of course. And I think this object needs to be adjusted also, so we're going to add some glow to it. We're going to effect, stylize, glow. And let's see, we just move around here. Yeah, around there. Press U, or rather we can simply click on the stopwatches for the glow there. Press U then. Yeah, you can see how it's going to start up. with a glowingness of 0.5 units, and then as it settles down, of course this point now we can give it more glow and increase even the glow's radius, as you can see. Before, of course, bringing them all the way down again by simply hitting reset there. Okay, so the object will come basically and glow before settling down, of course. Okay, in fact I think this can be adjusted even more. So composition again, composition settings, I think I'm going to change my duration here to 630. Again, right click, time stretch, and of course enter the 630. Okay, and then now we're going to add a final subtle effect by going to layer, new adjustment layer. Double click on the elliptical mask tool so that it of course can give us this mask. And now we want it to be slightly kind of a dreamy scene around the edges. So we're going to go to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian Blur, sorry, not Lens Blur. Lens Blur takes a long time to render. Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian Blur. And then increase the blurriness, as you can see. And then of course press MM, and then we're going to change the mask from Add to Subtract. And then of course the mask needs to be feathered to give us of course those nice smooth dreamy edges, as you can see. See that? Okay, of course now it looks dreamy around the edges. Beautiful. Indeed, it has been quite a long journey all the way from 3D Max up to After Effects. Indeed, it has been quite a long way, as I was saying, from 3D Max all the way into After Effects. Thank you for your patience, guys, because good things really take some time to pull together. But I must say the end result, as usual, is mind-blowing and amazing. This is just fantastic. Oh yeah, if you want to continue on your education with After Effects and 3D Max, we've got amazing training DVDs to help you. You know, you can access it by going to our products page on our homepage. You know, it's really thanks to your support that we can pull all these kinds of training to help you in whichever ways we find possible. So thanks so much for watching, and yes, support us by purchasing one or two or more of our training DVDs, and of course we even have t-shirts there for you guys. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. My name is Henrythejedi, also known as the Jedi. Goodbye, until next time. You will believe. And by the way, am I remembering again? It's not every day that you turn 2 years older. Thank you guys for helping us celebrate this moment in history.